In today's video, 2 reasons why your chest isn't growing.
All by myself.
Hey guys, this is Paul Ravella from ProPhysique.com, and in today's video I'm going to explain to you 2 quick tips on why I feel most people fail when it comes to chest training. I'm going to explain to you the biomechanics of it. I'm going to talk about my personal history, and we're going to talk about what we can do to correct it going forward with some video examples. So first things first, the function of the pectoral muscle. You know, a lot of people associate bench pressing with big pecs, and for good reason. They are very much used in a bench, if you do it properly, for pec muscle. However, the function of the pectoral is to move the arm across the sternum. That's right. So the actual function of the chest muscle is to contract the arms across the body. Now, when we are performing a bench press, we are essentially contracting, but depending on how you perform the bench press, you might actually be doing it a little bit wrong. So let's talk first about my history a little bit. So when I first got into bodybuilding, my biggest goal was, hey, I want to look like Arnold. I want that huge set of massive pecs just hanging off my rib cage. Every time I take my shirt off, people will bow down to me and be like, geez, what are you doing, Paul? Well, after a couple years, hitting the weights really hard, I had big shoulders, and I was actually getting pretty good at bench. I remember when I could do about 225 pounds for 10 reps, I thought, man, I'm kind of making it here, you know? I'm kind of fancy. I got some big bench press numbers, but lo and behold, pectorals were not catching up. It was only then that I started paying attention to actually activating the pecs. Why? Well, when you do something wrong for a long time, you start to look at why. Well, I had some huge anterior deltoids, still kind of do. My shoulders like to take over. I'm 6'3", by the way, guys, so my leverages are a little off. So I feel like sometimes with taller, lankier people, it takes a little while to find that rhythm to actually engage the muscle, because when we focus early on adding more weight, we don't always focus on the best way to progress. So how are we going to progress? Well, the things that I want to talk about today are the angle of the bench press, how we are descending with the bench. So early on, and I'll show you in some videos here, what I would often do is have my hands very high and keep the weight across here. What that did was that engaged a lot of my anterior deltoid. So I had some big honking anterior delts and a big hole where my chest should have been, right? So what was the big change that I made? Well, over time, I discovered that if I dipped my angle a little bit, lo and behold, I started engaging the pec. That really helped. One thing that really helped was moving to a dumbbell. Sometimes with a barbell, you can kind of get stuck in one plane. With a dumbbell, you can find a more natural progression. Then when I went back to barbell bench, well, lo and behold, I found that I was able to handle more weight and use my pecs and get stronger and avoid shoulder injuries. Shoulders are a very complicated muscle group, and once you start getting some aches and pains in the shoulders, it can really hinder just about everything you do in the gym for the upper body. So the first tip would be looking at where you're bringing the bar down. Now, a lot of that's going to come down to your leverages, okay? These leverages are going to determine where the bar needs to come so that you're engaging your chest. So lower the weight, find the place where you actually see the pectoral muscle expanding and contracting. Slow eccentrics are always going to help, or negatives, right? Finding that place, finding that rhythm, then you can start packing on some speed and some weight onto the bar, and that's how we're going to grow, okay? The next thing I learned was when I started powerlifting. And although sometimes you can see it exaggerated because what they're trying to do in powerlifting is take advantage of the rule which states only the upper back and buttocks need to be in touch with the bench when they're lifting, well, so they're going to create as much arch as they can possibly do. However, what I discovered was by creating a little bit of an arch, which I'll show you in this video here, what I did was essentially take my shoulders out of the movement, okay? My shoulders were now behind my chest, and I was pushing through my pec first, not through my shoulder first. And by creating this slight arch, my back against the top of the bench, my butt kind of moved up, creating a little bit of an arch there, I found that it actually put my physique in a better position to perform more weight and safer. And how do we build muscle? Well, initially there's a neural adaptation to the training, so we're going to get a little bit stronger, but eventually we want to start adding more sets, reps, and weights so we get some hypertrophy. So if you're doing things that actually target the muscle that you want to hit, you're actually focusing on being safe so you can avoid missing gym sessions, and you're progressing because you're actually getting stronger, well, that's how we're going to get some pectoral hypertrophy, and that is the ultimate goal, guys. So that's my tips and tricks, my two main things. Now, one thing that came out way after I had already figured this out was a product by Mark Bell called the Slingshot. Slingshot, which was given to me, was something I hadn't really used before. One thing I really like about the Slingshot is when you put it on, it actually puts you in a proper position, because as you'll see in the video here, when the Slingshot is on, I cannot bring my elbows out. It keeps me in a tucked position, okay? So when I come into the loaded position, the very, very low eccentric position, I'm in my most powerful position to push the bar up. Now, the Slingshot is used for overloading, which I would consider something more of an advanced technique, but I would very much say that someone who hasn't really been good at push-ups or wants to make sure they're engaging their pecs, a Slingshot could be a great way for beginners to just make sure they're engaging their chest. One sure way to make sure you're engaging your chest is, are you getting a pump? And are you sore in the pectoral, okay? Now, when we're talking about using incline movements and fly movements, the biggest thing to focus on is that you're feeling the target muscle. You know, you always hear that mind to muscle connection, but it's true. If you are a bodybuilder, your goal is to target the muscle that you want to grow, okay? As a power lifter, it's a little bit different. We're trying to just increase our 1 rep max through any means necessary. We're not so much focused on using this muscle or that muscle. We're trying to maximize our physiques to move the most weight possible. But in bodybuilding, if I want to grow my pecs and I'm doing flies and all I'm hitting is shoulders, okay? And I'm doing incline and all I'm doing is shoulders, and I'm tucking too much on bench and all I'm hitting is triceps, well, we're not going to actually be getting the benefit of that training. So see what this does for you guys. If you guys are interested in more of these little tips and tricks, I'd like to do more of these videos. I've been doing a lot on nutrition lately. I'm excited to get into the gym and start doing some more stuff around training. You guys have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All by myself.